Our next segment will be about a 30-minute question and answer. You all submitted some questions earlier on some index cards. Mr. Adams is going to run through those and let our panelists answer those questions. After that, we'll do some announcements real quick, and then we'll wrap up the meeting.
Okay, we've got quite a bit of territory to go through in a short amount of time to do it, and so we're going to try to roll forward. First of all, Hugh had a question about the forensic accounting that our gentleman at the end of the table there. Could you explain very briefly, because we actually have some other questions, what forensic accounting is?
All I was really okay. Forensic accounting is basically the studying of white-collar crime and investigating it, and figuring out what people are doing to hide money. And the point I was making is that the tax policy is only going to incentivize people to pretty much hide their money. So the joke I was making is that, you know, forensic accountants will have a great job because there's going to be a lot of hiding going on. That's really all I was getting at.
Remember the context.
What do you mean when I said it?
The context when you said it.
Yeah, that's what I was just explaining. Yeah, corporate income tax is what I was talking about.
Now, Hugh's other question was, what is a view shed? Because some people thought I was actually joking about that, and there are proposals in North Carolina right now that would add an additional tax to homes that are on the side of a mountain. But your property tax already takes into account what the value of your home is, so a view shed tax is just a redundant, silly tax. But these are the type of things that are going on. Now, for anyone up here, what are 3 specific points in Obama's tax plan that will hurt small business owners and entrepreneurs? And what are 3 specific points in McCain's plan that could benefit small business owners?
Well, I'll just start with one point. Obama always talks about how he's only going to raise taxes on the rich and the highest bracket. Well, the fact of the matter is the great majority of small businesses file their taxes on the I-9 on the income tax form. So when he is talking about raising tax on the rich, he's actually talking about crippling the #1 job provider in America, that's small businesses. So that's just one point I would like to point out. When he talks about the rich, he's talking about small businesses as well.
I would like to point out that what's happening, our tax structure is very progressive. That means the more you make, the higher your bracket is. Now, what is happening in real life now, we had an example in Alamance County that with the identity theft, there are people who have multiple identities, multiple social security numbers. Can you believe it, folks? Jose Hernandez is also Juan Ruiz, okay? And he makes about $25,000 as Jose Hernandez with one social security number, and about $25,000 as Juan Ruiz with another social security number. He gets, do y'all know what an earned income credit is? Who doesn't know what an earned income? That's a negative income tax. That is a welfare system administered by the Internal Revenue Service that you file your tax return and you get a refund of money that you haven't paid in. The biggest scam in the Internal Revenue Code is not waiters and bartenders, folks, and is not the construction workers. It is the earned income credit. And the worst of it is multiple identities, people. And we found in Alamance County that our own health department, paid by our taxpayers, was conspiring with some of these people to use false identities. Believe it or not.
With regards to small businesses, I would say that one of the biggest differences is actually their positions on the death tax. Now, many small business owners work their entire life to build up a business that they're proud of and something that they want to pass on to their children. Senator Obama supports maintaining a death tax, which is basically when you die, if your heirs want to inherit the estate, they need to pay a 55% tax on that. And whereas McCain, well, he has a mixed record on this one, is definitely much more pro-business, keeping keeping that rate low, if there at all. I would say the death tax is one of the biggest differences between the two with regards to small businesses.
On that note, Christina, you can hold the microphone. Is the death tax to be reinstated in the year 2011 after it goes to zero?
Yes, in 2010 it will be dropping down to zero. So on any amount of state you pay no tax. It's been going down a little bit each year since the tax cuts passed earlier, ambitious term. The exemption, meaning how big of a state you can have and still not have to pay that tax, and has been going up and the rate has been going down. So in 2010 we will have buried the death tax, but it will spring back to life in 2011.
So the best year to die is 2010, in case...
I could work on this issue, and we have actually been told about families with grandparents and parents on life support, and that's actually something that is in people's considerations of end-of-life decisions, and I'm not kidding.
You got to pull the plug at the right time, folks.
It's kind of morbid to be thinking in these terms, but taxation and death. Even without new taxes, government spending and entitlements increase through borrowing. How do you stop federal borrowing? In other words, the inflation tax. And we'll move on to the next question. No, I'm just kidding. Anybody? Okay. Anyone in the audience want to tackle that one? Fire Congress. Okay. You want to rephrase the question?
Do we have to address it?
Yes, I think so.
We have to address this. What we got to do is vote for congressmen and senators based on something other than what's in it for me, based on our own greed. And I think we're all spoiled. I think we're a sorry lot. We're not the same people who fought in the 1770s. We're a bunch of sorry, no good trash.
Go ahead, Christina, on that note.
One of my favorite ideas for addressing overspending would actually be moving to federal tax filing date from April 15th to the first Monday in November. Come election time, politicians like to make promises on what they're going to spend. It sounds real good, more. We don't pay the bill for that until half a year later. So if we, just like when you go to a registry to check out your purchase, you get and you pay for your purchases at the same time. We should do that with the federal government, and I think spending would curtail quite a bit.
One other point to consider and to provide these folks some coverage, certainly you cannot move forward with our tax codes and entitlements without addressing the situation with entitlements. Social Security, having a Social Security that's not indexed to our average lifespans means we're living progressively longer and longer on Social Security, and you cannot get to the point where we have one person working for one person collecting Social Security. There are a lot of things we need to do, but we need to have politicians in office that have the acumen and ability and courage to actually do something about it. Otherwise, nothing will change. How's that? Fair enough? Okay. It has been said that inflation is always a monetary phenomenon. What changes would you propose to prevent our monetary policymakers from imposing the insidious inflation tax? So another one about the inflation tax. It's like Jeopardy. Toot, toot, toot. Okay.
Inflation. What I think the thing that you mentioned a minute ago, I think is very important to remember is people today average Americans today make more money than they did in the 90s. I mean, it's a simple fact, and there's something called bracket creep that people seem to forget about. Tax brackets simply don't slide with the growth in average American incomes. So, essentially, you're leading to a perpetual increase in taxes. And before we start debating, inflation taxes and all these other things, I think bracket creep needs to be something that our politicians are discussing. And quite frankly, they don't do it enough. So I would implore you to write them and tell them, hey, we need to talk about, sliding growth rates with income and how you're not addressing the fact that bracket creep is going to be a huge problem. And I think inflation is directly related to that. Thanks.
You want to say something?
Yeah. May I?